Hello, and welcome to Data in Python. My name is Laura Harris, and I'm excited to get started. A value is the quantitative or qualitative data that a program can manipulate. Have you seen values already before in this Python class? Earlier, you created a Hello World program. It took a print statement and fed it an object, and then returned that object to the screen. In this case, the object was a sentence, or we'll call it a string later on, that says hello world. If you spent a couple minutes playing around with the print statement, you also notice that you can use values in terms of numbers, such as 1 plus 1 would print 2 to the screen. Variables are containers for storing data values. And an assignment statement creates new variables and gives them value. So here we're looking at variable names. Variable names can be alphanumeric characters with underscores. They must start with a letter or an underscore, no numbers. Variable names are case sensitive. So as I work through examples, I encourage you to type them into your text editor and run them in Python and see what the outputs are. So please follow along. In this case, you have a lowercase x is 1, uppercase x equals 1.0, and y equals our hello world string. If I use the print statement on each of these variables, keeping in mind the case sensitivity of x, you will see the differing outputs. Variables can store different data types, and different data types can do different things. This is so important, we will be spending quite a bit of time over the next few modules on the different data types and the different things they can do for you. This is a summary of those built-in data types. You can import data types, but we will discuss that later. Here you can have a numeric value, such as a 1 or a 2 or a -3. This can be an integer, a float, which is the same as a decimal, or a complex number that includes something like the imaginary number I. You can have a text, which I mentioned is a string. Think hello world. You can also have a Boolean, which is simply a binary 1 or 0 based on true or false. The numeric, text, and Boolean data types all store one value per variable. You can have a collection, such as a list or a set, or a mapping collection, such as a dictionary. All of these store a collection of values, so more than one value per variable. This gives you some examples. Again, I encourage you to just take a look at them. We'll get into the differences and similarities between lists and sets and dictionaries in the next module. This module will focus on definitions, followed by the single value variables. The type function returns the data type of a variable and is very important when working in Python. Python has no command for declaring a variable, so variables are created when you first assign a value to them. So again, if we take a look at our example with lowercase x, uppercase x, and lowercase y, we can print the type of each of these variables. And you'll notice then you have an integer, a float, and a string. Variables and their data types can be changed. So this is part of variable reassignment. Variable values can be redeclared as often as necessary in the same program. Variable data types can be changed also. So let's say I defined lowercase x as a float 1. Then if I print, I would get 1.0, and my type would be float. I can reassign the lowercase x variable to be a string of the number 2. Now when I go to print, I get number 2, but now it's a text base rather than a float. And then if I print type, it will say string. Keep in mind that what type of variable you are using matters for what you're trying to do. This is why variable reassignments are important. So here I have my x is 1 and my y is hello world, and I'm trying to print the combination of an integer and a string. This will cause a type error because these two variables are not the same data type. I can use variable reassignment in order to switch one of the variables to the type of the other variable. So if I take x and make it the string of 1, now I can add a string to a string, and you'll notice the code runs properly. What was your output? So thanks for joining me on this very brief discussion of data in Python. If you have any questions, please reach out. My email address is training@msu.edu. Have a great day.